Hello chess friends, and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel, and welcome to our best chess games of all time series. So in this series we're following the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, and today I wanted to show you really an immortal game played by the legendary Levon Aronian versus Magnus Carlsen back from the 2017 Norway Altibox chess tournament. So this game really deserves to be on our list of the best chess games of all time. It had some great opening preparations, it had some great tactical elements in middle game, and it had also some great endgame strategies. So it will be a brutal and a beautiful brilliancy played here by Levon Aronian against the world champion Magnus Carlsen, and I've never seen Magnus Carlsen crushed like this. It was really an incredible game because Magnus, when he loses basically with some tiny little inaccuracies or similar ideas, but Magnus hasn't lost the game for a while now. But in this game, Levon Aronian will go straight forward. He'll go after Magnus. He'll crush him with some great attacking motifs, and be prepared. This will be really a brutal chess game. So let's check it out. We have a d4 played by Levon Aronian, d5 by Carlsen, c4, the Queen's Gambit, c6, the Slav defense, knight to f3, knight to f6, and now after knight to c3, Magnus goes for the semi-Slav setup with the move e6. It's a common way to proceed here, getting this firm pawn structure in the center, and here Levon Aronian plays the move e3. We have a6, which is the preparation to take out the pawn here on c4 and then expand on the queen side, getting a tempo with the move b5. That's why Aronian played the move b3, and this b3 is a fixing move, but it leaves a little bit the dark squares unprotected, so that's why Carlsen uses this moment to place the move bishop to b4, and now bishop to d2 played by Aronian. Knight from b to d7, bishop to d3. Still, this is still common theory, nothing special has happened so far, and in the game Carlsen simply castled, and here Aronian also castled. Queen to e7, and this is now a critical moment of the game. The idea behind this move, queen to e7, is to take d takes c4 and then crack the center with the move e5. This leads into a simplified line, I think, for both sides. Both of the sides will hardly win this game. So in the game, Levon Aronian tries to spice it up, to change a little bit this opening. He played this move bishop to c2, staying with his bishop on this very important light square diagonal. But the more important thing is that the bishop is not on d3 anymore. After potential e5, you wouldn't have to react immediately, because the main tactical threat will be the fork here on e4, attacking the bishop and the knight. So bishop to c2, a prophylactic move here by Levon Aronian, and rook to d8 played by Carlsen, getting the rook, of course, on the same file like the queen, indirectly attacking if the position again clears somehow in the center. If we get these pawns traded off, then Black could have some tactical threats on the d file. And here Levon Aronian plays a great move. It's when you put this move in an engine, it will show you that Black will have the advantage after the move. But from this human's perspective, this is really a great move. This is really a nice attacking brutal move, and it's the move a3. So okay, what to do now? We have sacrificed the pawn. Basically, the best way to proceed here is simply to take, which Magnus Carlsen did. But for instance, if you try bishop to d6, then I think we can simply kick away the bishop, and after bishop to c7, simply pushing e4, fixing the position with the move b4, and placing our rook to e1, and also getting our rook on the same file like the queen, and really be aggressive, because these bishops have now a huge activity. The immediate threat would be also to play something like e5, close the center. So that's why Magnus simply took bishop takes a3, and here the fun starts. Here Levon Aronian sacrificed the rook for the exchange. Rook takes a3, queen takes a3, and very cool move now. We have c5. This is a great opening preparation by Levon Aronian. The queen is trapped here, That's the main problem. The queen is out of game. The queen will need many moves in order to get somehow into the game, maybe this way. But the problem is, if you get this queen on the same diagonal like the bishop, there are some tactical threats. So here Magnus tried the move b6, cracking the position, which is a common move in these setups. When you have this advanced pawn, you want to crack this position. You're not allowing your opponent to have the space advantage on the 5th rank here. And here Aronian plays a cool move, b4, so fixing the position. And the funny thing is, if you take, for instance, this pawn, then you get a very nice tactical shot, knight takes d5. It seems now that nothing bad has happened, because okay, white has a pawn, but the problem is you have to go here maybe to b5, or you can go also to c4. The same thing happens, you get attacked by this light square bishop. But now we have knight to e7. That's the main tactical motif that Levon Aronian has prepared here. After king to f8, we would have bishop to a4. After something like queen to b2, now it's time to take out this pawn, attacking the rook. And after a couple of moves, we could also attack here the queen with bishop to c1. Again, we could also take out this pawn. The queen is still endangered, and the main tactical threat here is to play knight to e1 and maybe knight to d3. This would trap the queen. The queen would be further endangered. Let's see a possible continuation here after this move. If you try queen to b2, so after the move c5, b4 here, fixing the pawn on c5. So if you try queen to b2, then this is the main threat. As I said, also you don't have to trade off the pawns here, but knight to e1 with the preparation to play knight to d3, and the queen, I think, would be trapped after a couple of moves. So that's why in the game, after the move b4, Carlsen decided to play knight to e4. He has to give up a pawn because he wants to get rid of at least one of these pieces that could attack the queen. So after knight to e4, we have knight takes e4, bishop e takes e4, bishop takes e4, and now Magnus tried rook to b8. Maybe a better way is to proceed here with bishop to b7, but it's still dangerous around black's king, because we would have then queen to b1. This is a very dangerous attack against this h7 square. Knight to f6 would be a must move, but now bishop to c2. And again, you see how the queen is trapped here on the queen side. The queen is out of game, and this locking system by Levon Aronian with the move c5 was really great. It created some many tactical possibilities here for white, although down the exchange and down a pawn. But here you could try maybe something like b5 and e4, I think, is a great move, again with the preparation to play something like e5 and simply take out this very important pawn on h7. If you, for instance, play something like h6 or g6, still it would be dangerous. After the move e5, you have weakened further your pawn structure in front of the king, so there could be maybe even some tactical threats, or we can try maybe bishop to g5. So these bishops aiming against black's king are really deadly. So that's why Magnus didn't go for this bishop to b7 line. He went into this rook to b8 idea, trying to somehow crack the position here on the queen side, liberating the queen somehow on the b file. And here Levon Aronian plays again a nice tactical shot. He played the Greek gift, bishop takes h7, and these are always these problems when you don't have this knight on f6, when you don't have defenders in front of your king. Here king takes h7 had to be played, and now knight to g5, and most of the times you can escape when your opponent plays the Greek gift tactic. You could escape maybe with the move king to g6, but now it gets really dangerous here for black. The main idea is to play queen to g4, and the problem is you cannot play this move knight to f6. You would love to have this defender around the king, but then you get here simply queen to g3, and the more important thing is that we are attacking the rook, so the rooks are not connected. If you, for instance, try something like rook to a8, then here knight takes e6, I think wins the game immediately. It's game over. Here we can also take out the g7, and that's the main tactical problem. So here after the move queen to g4, instead of this knight to f6 move, you could try maybe here this move f5 attacking the queen, but now you get again queen to g3. And the problem is you cannot participate with this knight again in the defense. Again, the same idea. The knight is protecting the rook. You could try maybe to escape here with the move king to f6, but now you get queen to h4. And again, there are some tactical threats. Discover attack possibilities. You could try maybe here to again go to g6, but now we have queen to h7. And this is again very deadly. If you take, for instance, the knight, then you get checkmated, because we have first queen takes h7, you have only one square, you have the square h5, and now h4, preparing here this checkmate on g5. You would be forced to take out the pawn. King takes h4 would be a forced continuation, but now queen to h6 again, you have only one square, king to g4, and now f3, king to g3, and now queen to h3. Very, very cool checkmate. So there is this lack of coordination of these pieces. They are still there, but they're not participating in the defense. That's the main problem. And here I wanted to again show you possible continuation if, for instance, again this f5 move, and we play queen to g3. Now if we play, for instance, king to f6, then there is after king to h4 and king to g6, here we could even try maybe to escape here with another move. We could try maybe here the move rook to e8, so not to escape with the king, waiting a little bit, because then we have protected this e8 pawn. So after something like knight takes e6, we could escape here with our king. You cannot take the g pawn because you get simply king takes e6. So but there is again another great tactical possibility that Levon Aronian has prepared here. You see, he has prepared some dangerous stuff against the world champion. Now you would get here a very nice move d5, and I'm not sure who would see these types of tactics. You see how great of a tactician Levon Aronian is. D5, cracking the position, and if you take, for instance, e takes d5, then we want to liberate this square for the knight. Knight to e4, discover check, and here is the problem. After something like king to f7, we have the possibility to play knight to d6. The fork on the rook and the king, that's the problem. So if you try, for instance, something like king to h7, not to escape on f7, then when you would have bishop to c3, creating checkmate threats on g7, you would be forced again to bring a defender in between, knight to f6, but now knight takes f6, g takes f6, and now queen to h4, first to check, after king to g8, here bishop to f6, and I think it's game over. You cannot protect anymore some checkmate threats. You would have to give away further material, and as I said, it will be game over. So that was all possible after this Greek gift. As I said, Magnus played king takes h7, knight to g5, and here Magnus went with his king on g8. He didn't go on g6. You see how dangerous this was. This attack was by Levon Aronian, and now queen to h5, creating this common Greek gift attack with some potential checkmate threats on h7 and on f7. In the game, Carlsen tried to get another defender into the game, knight to f6, and now queen takes f7. Here we have only one square, and now simply queen to c7, a very cool move, attacking both of these rooks. So in the game, Magnus tried to defend here with the move bishop to d7. It's a forced move because you have to bring the bishop somewhere, you have to connect the pieces, but now you get the fork, knight to f7. A great tactics by Levon Aronian, king to h7, and now knight takes d8. We have a rook to c8, and you cannot take, of course, the rook, you lose another rook. So this is the only thing that Levon Aronian, that Magnus Carlsen can do here in order to protect the position somehow. And in the game, queen to b6 played by Aronian, simply taking another pawn, and Magnus tried knight to d5, attacking the queen, but now queen to a7, attacking the bishop. So here Levon Aronian is not allowing Magnus Carlsen to breathe. There are still some tactical possibilities, and here in the game, rook, pardon me, let's go back, queen to a7, and rook takes d8 was played. And again, Levon Aronian sacrificed the piece. You probably think, why did he do that? But again, he saw something that I probably wouldn't see. Here he played the move e4, attacking the knight. The knight is of course controlling here this very important square c7 and also e7. So here Magnus tried to counter-attack with the move queen to d3, but I've also analyzed some possible continuations. If you try knight to f6, this seems like a good move because you have protected your bishop, then you can play much more freely with your rook, but then you would get simply bishop to g5. And if you for instance try something like queen to b4, then we could have simply e5, king to g6 would be sort of a must move, and again h4, protecting the bishop. After something like queen takes d4, we can simply take e takes f6, g takes f6, and now queen to b6, attacking the rook. And here after bishop to c8, I think after bishop to e3, white has a comfortable game because the king is still endangered. I don't like this bishop's position. The bishop is blocked out by its own pawns. Here the rook has to escape somewhere. Still we have some possibilities to include the rook in the attack. If for instance the queen and the rook are leaving the d file, we can also attack on the b file. The queen is participating in the attack. We could also try some h5 ideas, decoying the king on the h file, then queen to h7 possibilities. So many great attacking possibilities here for white. I think even in this position black is on the losing side. So but in the game after the move e4, as I said, knight to f6 wasn't played. Carlsen tried to counter-attack with the move queen to d3, and here Levon Aronian simply took. We have e takes d5, queen takes d2, but now simply queen to c8, attacking both of these pieces. And Magnus probably thought that after the move queen to g5 that he has solved all of these positional problems, but again we have a very nice shot. Again d takes c6, attacking the bishop. Bishop to c8 is again sort of a must move, but now very important move h3, creating some breathing space. We want to play freely with our rook. We want maybe the rook somehow come to the h file, or we could attack maybe here this pawn. We could also try rook to e3, then maybe rook to g3, attacking the g7. Again, many possibilities here. Black has to defend although with a piece up, but these are really two passive pieces. Basically the queen holds all of these three pieces glued together. They are a little bit overloaded, all of the pieces of Magnus Carlsen. And in the game, queen to d5, Magnus tries to keep the position compact, but now rook to d1, and Magnus tried e5. Of course you cannot take because of this tactical mess on the d file, but now a rook lift, rook to d3, including the rook in the attack. Now the main tactical idea is of course to play rook to g3 and attacking the g7 pawn. E takes d4, rook to queen to e7, which is a very important move. Also to have the possibility to create a check on the h file, and combined with the rook, then the rook and the queen are covering this very important two files. And here Magnus tried bishop to f5. It seems that maybe rook to g8 holds the position, but again I think rook queen to h4, you see, is too painful here for black, because you have only one square, king to g6, and now rook to d4. Combined, this queen and the rook are creating again this mating net. Even in this position I think it's a losing game for black. So Magnus tried bishop to f5, but it was game over because rook to g3, and now bishop to g6 was played by Magnus Carlsen, but now queen to h4, and in this position Magnus resigned. So why did he resign? Because the answer is simple. You have only one square. We can take out the bishop, and you cannot take this pawn. That's the main problem. If you start, for instance, to push the pawn on d3 here, then again we have this very important move queen to e7, creating checkmate threats. Queen to d4 would be a forced move, but now c7, rook to c8 would be again a forced line, and now queen to e6 I think is winning immediately. King to h7, and now queen to f5, creating discovered attack possibilities. If you for instance try queen to n1, another problem, you have only one check. King to h2 is the possibility, now d2, but now here is this tactical motif, rook to d6, discoverly attacking the king, and you would go probably to g8, but now rook to d8, and it's game over. Great attack. Let's go back here to this opening preparation. Here A3. Great line. It brings black in the advantage when you put, as I said, this line into Stockfish engine. But from this human's perspective, this was really a great attack, great opening preparation by Levon Aronian, simply sacrificing the rook for the exchange, creating some dangerous attacks with his bishops aiming against Black's king. And this was really a tactical beauty by the legendary Armenian grandmaster Levon Aronian. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. I enjoyed it a lot. I watched it many times. This game, I think, really deserves to be in our list of the best chess games of all time. If you want to see more games like this, check out my other best chess games of all times. Here's the link, and you can also watch my commented chess games played by computers with some Alpha Zero, Lila Zero, and Stockfish games, and many more. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.